I'm Owen and welcome to today's class. Today we're going to use a yoga block, a yoga brick, maybe two. These could be books or any other sort of pillows that we might have. A yoga bolster could be an option for one of the poses, but we could use a rolled up blanket or once again pillows. And also a yoga strap, and this could be a belt, it could be a designated strap. Try not to hit yourself in the face like I almost did then. It's going to be a nice minimalist style practice today, but we're going to start seated in a comfortable position, palms up or down, cupped at the waist, whatever feels relaxed and loose in the shoulders. Chin can come to chest and we can close our eyes, taking a few moments to take in some light breaths here, in and out through the nose, and we'll try and sustain this throughout the practice today. Breathing in nice and slowly through the nose. Breathing out through the nose, trying to have a slightly longer exhale than the inhale. Maybe by a couple of seconds, maybe by several. And this is a great way to tell the body that we're in a safe, relaxed space, that we don't need our fight or flight adrenaline to fire, and on a chemical level to increase our level of carbon dioxide in the body, and that actually helps to get oxygen into the tissue, into the brain, and as a result, have a more relaxed approach to our breathing. Being nice and gentle with our breath as well, because we don't need to force things. When we have conscious breath, sometimes we'll feel the need to take big gulps of air. It can be very light from belly to chest. We can begin to blink the eyes open. We'll bring ourselves with the legs out in front of us, sat on the mat. If we find that we've got any tension in the hip crease at this point, that we're rounding through the spine, having to feel the need to brace the core to lean forwards, then we can always sit higher on a pillow, on a yoga block, just so we soften there. We could also place our props, if we have our bricks or any books as an example to hand, pillows, one on each side in case we need it for this next pose. And then with the legs out in front of us, we'll bring the feet together. We'll bring the feet in towards the hips, allowing the knees to splay out and fall naturally to the sides. And they may be quite high, they may be near the floor, but we can use our bricks or props to support under the thighs or knees if we need. Holding on to our shins, our ankles or our feet, we can draw them in, lightly leaning forwards, keeping the back relatively straight, tilting the pelvis as opposed to rounding through the spine. Then gently lean to our degree towards the front of the mat. The chin can come lightly towards the chest, and if we're coming quite deep into the pose, we might even come onto the floor with our hands or our forearms there, resting the elbows on the floor. We want to make sure that we've got a nice, relaxed position, about 80% of our maximum, as always in our yin poses. Especially this new year sort of time, this January period where maybe we're trying to adapt to these new habitual changes that we might have chosen as resolutions or as goals for our year. We might want our results now, forcing things. When it comes to yin yoga and yoga generally, as well as strengthening in other styles of yoga or activities, we want to make sure that we keep it to a ability that's sustainable. We don't want to rush, pull and push and then find that we injure ourselves. And with yin yoga specifically, that's really important. We want to take into account that it's more the time that opens us up than force in yin yoga. And that's why we're holding poses in this style from anywhere between 90 seconds all the way up to 5 minutes or even longer. So this particular pose is going to be about 3 minutes. But let's not force things. Let's take our time just to open up. And as we begin to get to the 90-second mark in the pose, about halfway through of this particular butterfly pose, that's when the connective tissue tends to open up more. This is when we tend to go from just our muscles stretching into the deeper connective tissue, like our fascia, like our tendons and ligaments. So we get a nice deep, nice slow opening of the body. And that's what we want in our yin yoga poses. We're trying not to force, taking our time, about 80% of our maximum. And these last few moments of our pose, we can just begin to adjust to come out of the pose, bringing our hands onto the floor if we're on our elbows, coming onto our feet and legs if we're on our hands, allowing ourselves to bring the hands to the outsides of the knees to bring the knees up. Leaning back onto our hands, we can then have a nice gentle windshield wiper, keeping the knees bent, feet a bit wider than the hips, letting those feet allow that sway to occur, knees dropping to the left and to the right. We can draw that top knee forward as we do so to deepen the stretch at the top of the hip. Then we're going to try and set up for our next few poses. So we want to have our strap or belt to hand, depending on what we're using, having that out to the side. Having our bolster or pillows, depending on what we're using, again, in replacement there to lean back on in a minute to come into our supported fish. I generally recommend to start off with, if we haven't done this pose before, to go softer, that we support the head end of the bolster. So I've put 2 bricks under here. We could also elevate at the head to soften in the neck with a block at the top of that bolster, giving it to the base of the spine so we can lean back onto that prop. And this angle at the lower spine, at the lumbar region of the spine, is a lot softer as we lean back, arms are splaying out to the sides. Arms can allow that soft opening of the chest. But depending on how that feels in this lower back region, if we wanted to intensify it more, we could come out of the pose slowly and carefully, remove 1 or 2 of our props if we're using our bricks. Bringing our bolster then level with the floor, leaning back on it again with or without a block under the head. And this is going to allow a much deeper opening of that lumbar region, as you'll see here. That angle above the pelvis in that lumbar regions increase substantially. The hands can still come out to the side with the arms splayed, a bit like in Shavasana. And then the legs, if we wanted to increase intensity, we could bring them out further away from the body, or we can bring the feet together if we haven't had enough hip open in that last butterfly pose, allowing the knees to fall out to the sides. Just letting gravity do the work here. Our supported fish is one of my favourite poses. It's one I like to do a lot for my back extension. It really helps me feel that I can also connect to my breath more. And when we're extending through the spine in this way, it allows more awareness to be in that lower belly region when we're inhaling and exhaling. Really trying to roll from the belly to the chest, like a wave going into the shore and back down again, from chest to belly. We'll try and keep the majority of that inhale coming into the belly at that lower rib region, and then the last 20 or 10% coming into the chest before making its way back down again. And when we're in a supported fish pose, it's a very surrendering pose. We really want to focus on loosening any tension, relieving any tension that we might have. We can soften in the fingers and the hands, the wrists, the arms, the shoulders. Trying to reduce any intensity in the feet, toes, in the hips, which we are potentially opening lightly here, depending on what option we've gone for in the legs. Letting that chest slowly open at the breastbone as those arms drape to the sides. Softening in the features of the face, in the jaw, in the lips, the tongue, the cheeks, the eyes, in the brow, in the third eye, the forehead, and finally the crown of the head. From head to toe, trying to just drape and relax into the floor and into the props that we've got beneath us. And in a moment, we're going to begin to come out of the pose. So if the knees are falling to the sides, we'll bring them back up with the arms slowly, bringing the feet back in towards the hips. And as opposed to just sitting straight upright, we want to try and roll to the side. So I like to extend one leg, my right leg in this case, to straight. Bring my same arm as the side that the leg's extended on. So once again, my right arm. And then roll towards that side, using our opposite arm to eventually push us up into a nice seated position slowly without rushing and putting too much strain on our spine. Once we're sat up, we can allow ourselves to just remove that bolster or blanket or whichever prop we had beneath us to the side. I'm going to position this at the front of my mat for later on for a form of Shavasana that's more supportive. We want our block, pillow, or our belt and strap so they're both within arm's reach, then come down onto our backs. We might hug our knees towards the chest, having a couple of sways to the left and to the right for a bit of a lower spine massage, before lowering our feet back down, checking in with the neck and placing a pillow or a block beneath the head if we need to extend to be more comfortable in the neck, and then grabbing our strap or belt. And if we have got a yoga strap, we want to have the little tail, as I call it, by the D-rings near towards the hands, and that's going to allow us to then adjust it should we need to. Looping the strap over the ball of the feet, we can then extend the legs to straight, having a micro bend in the knees so we're not locking the joint. Holding the strap with bent arms will mean there's a lot of tension in the muscles, so the straighter the arm, the less intense it will be on the arms themselves. We want to keep the shoulders relatively low. And if we wanted to with a strap, we could loop it around the back of the skull, not the back of the neck. So it's positioned cradling the feet and the legs in position. If we want to tighten it to intensify it, we'll remove the strap from the back of the skull, pulling some of that tail through the D-rings before repositioning it and checking in with how that feels. Making sure that we're not going too intense, still trying to keep that 80% mark, being extra careful with the neck here. This is again one of my favourite poses to do for my own personal practice because I feel that it's very restorative in how we're self-supporting, especially with this option with the strap at the back of the skull. It's by no means essential though to have all these props. We can use so many things around the house to get into a comfortable position in Yin Yoga. It could be using belts, it could be using dressing gown, robes, could be using a towel, whatever you've got to hand. It doesn't have to be specific for yoga. Same goes for our bricks, our blocks, our bolster, pillows, cushions, books with a towel on them to soften them. Could be just as effective. You don't have to have all the gear to be able to practice Yin Yoga. You don't even have to have any gear. It just makes it a little bit more sustainable and a little bit more comfortable in the deeper stretches. In just a moment, we're going to begin to make our way out of the pose. So if the strap's on the back of the skull, we'll carefully remove the strap from the back of the head, lowering the head down with care. And then with the strap in all of our hands, we can begin to bend those knees, bringing the strap off of the ball of the feet and lowering those feet down very carefully towards the floor in control. Once we're there, we'll have that option just to hug those knees towards the chest again. That gentle sway can happen side to side just to self-massage that lower back again against the floor, against the mat. Then we're going to come into our Shavasana. This could be traditional, where we're splaying those legs out about as wide as the mat. I'm going to bring my bolster underneath the knees for a bit of support here, for a slightly softer option in the hips and the hamstrings. You might want to bring a pillow or a block beneath the head to support in the neck. Then the arms could be splayed out to the sides, traditionally so. We could bring them onto the belly, stacked for that diaphragmatic breath, to be a bit more noticeable. Or one hand belly, one hand chest, to feel that nice roll from belly to chest and back down again. We're trying to breathe nice and slow and gentle in and out through the nose again, if that is possible for you to do. Chin lightly towards the chest, eyes closed. And then we can enjoy these final few minutes of our practice in this final resting pose of our class today. I'd really recommend that we don't skip this part of our practice. It can be tempting just to quickly come out thinking, why am I just lying down on the floor? It's not productive, but it really is a key part of a yoga practice. I'll only be here for a few minutes, so just enjoy the stillness, the silence. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for taking your time today to practice with me on the mat. It can be difficult to find the time to take our practice into our busy schedule. And today I really do appreciate the fact that you've chosen to do that with me. So thank you.